Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I am proud to announce our monthly meeting of Living Theurgy. And we have with us tonight Jean-Louis de Biasi, we have Apollonius, we have Brandy Williams, and we have Tony Mierzwicki going clockwise around my image on my screen. Today our topic is, where do we go from here? We've had a journey of 5-6 years. It led to the creation of a book that'll be released sometime next year. And we started talking about changes we'd like to see in our discussion. And one of the goals we had to allow in new people. And so far, Clio, Ajana, who's not here today, joined us. So I really would like to look at our the trunk of our living theurgy, our roots and our possible branches, and try to create the future. Apollonius has been on theurgy and thaumaturgy, and I want him on again. And I'd love to do on theurgy and philosophy as well. Brandy has started her own wonderful show, Witchcraft and Theurgy. And Tony has started a show, or will be starting a show, on theurgy and thelema. So Jean-Louis, if you can think of any themed show that you would like to have, you can host it. You can have on anybody you want as a guest and talk about anything you want, as long as it connects somewhat to theurgy. We will create that, and that will be your exploration of the branches or the roots of theurgy.
Yeah, the best I can do will be from July.
Okay.
Not before.
We will revisit then in July.
If this is before, I will die.
Before we proceed to the question we're going to be wrestling with, does anybody have anything new that they'd like to share that's happening in the near future or immediate future? Jean-Louis?
Yes, obviously, yes. Our books will go forward. I will send you information at the end of next week. Beside that, we are working a lot, really a lot in the Rome studies to update the way we teach, not the way we initiate, but the way we teach. And we are focusing a lot right now to update everything, to focus more on the inner work, understanding that the ritual and the ceremonial ritual should happen as a result of an inner work.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, the training has to evolve and change a little bit to use more deep relaxation, more guided meditations, self-hypnosis, out-of-body experience, and so on. And then at the end of the training, a cycle of ceremonial experiences can happen. Because we saw with the experience we have that if we start just focusing on the material world, the effect is not so powerful. This is evident when we say that like that, but in our systems, you know that, in theurgy, magic, and so on, this is not so obvious because people are eager to make tools, wear nice clothes, and start with a beautiful regalia. But in fact, it increases the ego more than to have a good effect and a good consequence on your life. So we are updating this kind of training to allow that. And as a consequence, the initiation will be even more powerful. And I plan, maybe I need you for that, or I don't know who, but I wanted to explain in theurgy what is the essence and the power of the initiatory experience. So the initiation. Not just practices, not just trainings and so on, but this very specific thing we have in the Mediterranean world called an initiation or a sequence of initiation. So I thought that maybe it could be good to have a kind of interview. Some one of you can interview me about initiation and what is an initiation, what is the impact. This is coming from ancient Greece, obviously, but they used that in Roman world, in Egypt at one point. And this is really an inner experience. You, even if we are talking about self-initiation, cannot be compared. This is really different. So this is interesting, I guess, to speak about it and to explain how we use it in our tradition compared to, for example, the Christian world. And I will don't say too much about it. I will be too critical.
Understood.
Okay.
We can definitely do that. And whoever would like to interview Jean-Louis on a category that he wants to be interviewed, make a list of what you'd like to talk about, and then we'll put it out to the group. And if anybody would like to be the person interviewing on that particular topic, that'd be fantastic. And this way there'd be a variety of people interacting, and the type of information that will come out will be different than if I was just the one talking to you.
Sure. Okay.
Okay,
I
I'm
will
looking
send a
forward
note to everyone.
And I have my own adventures have taken me into Masonic territory now. So I'm in with Masonic people. The old metaphysical shop where I used to run my Theurgy workshops and all my other mythological workshops and so forth is closing. So a lot of the people who belong to those groups are displaced now. So I'm welcoming them into what I currently started. So we're going to get a Wiccan pagan influence in what's going on. And I'm at a point now where I can start. I've been trying to create what a friend of mine who's a magician describes as a Blue Lodge type of system. And this would be based on mythology. The first is the open area that ties into whatever I talk about in public or what we talk about on the radio, and that's the cave of the centaur.
If I may, Hercules,
Yes, you may.
We spoke about that and the possibility to speak about esoteric Freemasonry, another show.
That's another show, yeah.
Yes, but I want to say something to you right now and to everyone.
Sure.
In the 19th century, if I am correct, Freemason in France created a specific ritual that is fully pagan, focusing in 3 degrees in Blue Lodge, and using the Orphic the Orphic system. And obviously, this ritual is not translated in English yet, but I have the copy in French. So anyway, I can give you the copy in French or share to everyone this copy in French. You can use an automatic translator and so on. I can help you after the automatic translation.
Awesome.
But the ritual really is excellent. It is very well done, very deeply rooted in the pagan Mediterranean tradition. So I am sure you will be fascinated and you could use it, really.
Thank you. I'm greatly appreciative of that, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, we're just going to go with what's new, but we got into the topic anyway, and that was an excellent information that was given by Jean-Louis. Apollonius, what are you up to, and what do you think we should be doing as a next step?
Well, that's thank you. Yeah, that's fascinating. I'd love to see that ritual as well, and learn a little bit more about that that organization. And I also, as Jean-Louis was talking about the inner work that precedes the ritual stuff. I mean, it just reminded me about, some of the, I don't know what to call it exactly, but some of the ritual magic work that was done, the preparation that people would do to really get into ritual magic. I'm thinking sort of post Golden Dawn, but sort of before, I don't know what, sort of the recent kind of popularity of magic and really coming along with Wicca, I guess. It was really rigorous, hard work. I mean, mental development, spiritual work, training, psychical training, all of this stuff that was really, that was expected if you were going to be an effective ritual magician. So yeah, it's and it does seem, a lot of it seems to have been kind of lost, or just people just sort of skim over it and figure they've got it. All I really got to report is I've got another book out.
All right, congratulations.
I don't write these things as fast, so what I'm mostly doing is taking stuff that has already been written and basically putting it into a publishable form. So what I've done is, and it's just come out in the last day, is again through Amazon on-demand publishing, and it's basically the text I used to write the book about Plethon, Secret Texts of Hellenic Polytheism. So it's Plethon's Book of Laws, which is the main thing, and his short, it's called A Summary of the Doctrines of Zoroaster and Plato, and his essay on virtues, and what else? I'm leaving out something. Oh, just let's see, the summary, Book of Laws, the virtues. I guess that's it. But anyway, I've got it in parallel Greek and English columns. So, for anyone that wants to read the Greek, or that wants to, look at, if they don't like my translation, or they have some doubts about it, they can check it with the Greek. And so that's now published as a hardback, paperback, and a Kindle ebook. And it's very little commentary on my part. Oh, it's the commentary on the magical oracles. It's also in there. That's right. And so that's what I've done. So it was a lot of work
Wow.
getting the
You
stuff
had nothing to
formatted,
report, right, Apollonius?
a lot of proofreading of Greek and English, and and getting all of the formatting right, because doing the double column stuff and having it look decent was a bit of a chore. So that's what I spent most of the last couple of weeks doing. But it's out there. I don't really expect a lot of people to be interested in it. But the only other really edition of the Greek of the laws is from 1858 with the French translation, and that's really all that's been available to people until my secret textbook.
Well, I'm interested, and of course, everyone here is interested. And how about we create a special that every time anybody publishes a book, whether it's one of their books or one of their own imprint, we automatically have like a day a month where that can get booked. And it would have to be on a Sunday, because that's the only time I have some free time, and my wife doesn't have any place for us to go. So I can schedule like things all day Sunday, but we can make that something that just happens automatically. You release something, fine. The next one's free, or the one after that, and let's just do it.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, Apollonius. Brandy.
So the topic is what we've been doing lately.
Yes.
You and I have talked about this, and I owe you a copy of my book. I meant to send you an email asking you for your address so I can send you one, the book, The Woman Magician. But I have a group called Sisters of Sechat,
Yes.
the sororal order of the Sisters of Sechat, and we just finished. We're just finishing a set of virtual initiations. So this is an initiatory system. We meet as a lodge system, and it's based on Golden Dawn ideas, but it's centered on women. And the reason that Hercules said my transgender stance is, I said my definition of a woman is anybody who says she's a woman. Which should be unremarkable, actually. So we just finished we're just finishing a set of these initiations. There are 5 of them, and we do them in the park, and I do them in person. We're about to start, actually tomorrow we're meeting to plan our next set in person. But if you're initiating people in person, it takes a while to generate like a lot of people. So
Yes.
I took it virtual this year and did a virtual version of these initiations, and I found a lot of really interesting things about that. Actually, it is lodge work. There are 3 of us who are officers, and we build the lodge like we do in the in physical space. And
Mhm.
then the workings themselves, the journey is a interior journey. So I give instructions and people see them visually. They march
Yes.
through it or in their imagination. And then we come back together and share information sometimes and conclude. I did a sort of hybrid thing where I did some props, right? So
Mhm.
we're working through a path that has 7 planets. So I just took a symbol of the planet and put it in front of the camera. That was a very prop heavy one. And then others are just all interior. And the people who were doing it have given me the feedback that it felt really real to them. And that was something that was important to me, because often when people do online work, it feels imaginary to them and they were feeling energy. But I think one of the reasons is that we're not just, we're putting energy into the temple itself. So before every one of the initiations, I build the astral temple. I set the god forms as one does in a Golden Dawn temple. And I also go every day. Every day I'm sitting, I do sitting practice. And one of the things that I do is to build that temple astrally and so that they can
Mhm.
enter it. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And I normally don't talk about it here because it is centered on women. And this is kind of a guy group. There's a lot of,
We're
male
open to all
energy here,
women.
but
You are the ones who answered the call to adventure, and you're here. You remained here, but women are allowed.
yeah. I was hoping for Clio. Yeah. So that's why I don't talk about it here too much, but it was pertinent to, I think, the conversation about initiation and about inner work. I did a whole lot of videos around these initiations this time. So if you go to the Sisters of Seshat YouTube channel, I described each of the initiations so that you can see what it was that you were about to do. So this is it's an open source ritual. There are like Ordo Templi Orientis has secret rituals and you're not supposed to publish them or talk about them. This is all, you can read them, you can do them, anyone can pick up and do them. I'd be thrilled if other people would pick them up and do them. There may be other temples that come out of this work, actually, because now there are people in different geographical regions who actually have done this work. So the learning is important, to Apollonius's point and to Jean-Louis' point. It's important to be able to do that kind of work, that you know what the symbols are and you know what they mean, and you have some previous exposure to that before we spring it to you on you in the ritual. So
I will
that's
definitely
what I
link to
think.
your. I will watch your YouTube videos, and I will link to them. I'll do one a week. How's that? This way, they'll
Okay,
answer. What you're
sure.
describing is how I've been doing things since teenagerhood. It's always, there's a location, build a location in my mind that make it real to other people's minds. Sometimes there's a person, like in the last time I did this before the pandemic, it was Hermes' Akashic Library. So after a while, people started seeing the same things, even though I didn't describe them, but they would describe them in their experiences. And sometimes, many times, whether it's like shamanic journeying or dream work or, doing this active imagination, a lot of things pop up in one person's psyche and then continue in someone else's psyche. And that only becomes apparent when people are sharing the experience. So what you're describing is a very powerful technique, at least I find. I don't consider myself a ceremonial magician. I don't consider myself an initiate, but what you're describing is something that just made sense. And it is incredibly awesome that you're doing that.
I don't think it's a ceremonial technique, really. I mean, where I learned it was doing tantric, what Jean-Louis might call yogic work. And many of the women in the group have also studied with other tantric teachers. So we all gravitated to that methodology. But the ceremonial path working is more stuff that you do on your own rather than in a group. And the lodge work tends to be physically in person. So it was kind of a hybrid of those things. But I think you're on the right path there, Hercules. There's a reality to this that we can all share.
Yes. Yeah, the Cave of the Centaur, that's where people, it's kind of like, who am I? What do I want? And is what you want what we're doing? That's basically some of the questions that people answer in the Centaur's cave. And then from there, it's like the new one I'm doing is incorporated Theurgy. And Theurgy is a type of a type of magic, a type of work with unseen forces and with higher levels of self. I'm putting together a new reading list because you guys have done more reading and writing rather, and also many more activities than last time I ran this. So I'm using your books, I'm using your online presences. I'd like to use Jean-Louis' organization as a place where they can go to explore Theurgy more, where they have, if they like the taste that they're getting there, then they can proceed somewhere where I trust that they'll be well taken care of and be held in great consideration. I'm not going to send them to like some cult or someplace that's going to milk them of their money and not give them anything in return. So I'm grateful that I know you guys, because at least I feel safe sending people to your destination, and that again, what they're getting is real. Tony.
Okay, I wanted to say that I also would like to see Jean-Louis' translated ritual when it comes out. And regarding what Apollonius said about lengthy pre-ritual preparation, what sprang to mind was Franz Barden's first book, Initiation into Hermetics. I started working through it, didn't finish it, but apparently to work through it from cover to cover takes 10 years. Chicken Sandra Cicero wrote Self-Initiation to the Golden Dawn. That's a much shorter process, but it also features lots of exercises. While Brandy was talking about her virtual initiations, I found myself thinking that the COVID shutdown has changed so much. So much is being done online rather than in person. So, it seems logical to keep the momentum running and keep doing things online, because you can contact so many more people all over the world rather than just people who are fairly close to you geographically. So regarding what I'm doing, I think I mentioned last time that I'll be running an online workshop for Witches Fest USA, as I did last year. So this is an annual event. It's on the second weekend of July each year on Astor Place in New York City. And on the Saturday, it's a street fair and a festival. The day before and the day after are virtual events. I suggested 2 workshops. I know that one of them's been approved, but they still haven't told me which one. So one of them is on Atlantis and Poseidon, and the other one is just on working with the elements on a weekly basis. You may remember that at last year's Witches Fest, there were demonstrations by Christian extremists. I was there and documented the event. What's happened over the last couple of months is that there's an organization called Freedom Forum, and they're in the process, they've almost completed a video series titled First Amendment Fast Facts. So that series of videos includes an episode on Wicca. It's very short, it's less than 2 minutes long. And so far they've included one of my images from the Witches Fest event, and they may possibly use another one as well. It all comes down to whether they can get permission for that other photo. And the images were designed to illustrate the harassment that Wiccans have experienced. I've seen the almost completed video, and I've got to say that the production values are slick. The commentary is simple enough to be understood by children, but there's enough information there to keep adults happy. The only thing that's a little problematic, I think, is that Witches Fest includes more than just Wiccans, although the Wiccans do doubtless make up the largest subgroup. The other thing I have coming up that I'm really excited about is on Sunday, I'm going to be interviewing Jean-Louis about his Aura book. I'll have my book review and questions finished before then. My partner, Susan, and I tried out one of your exercises today, where you use the sky as a backdrop, and that was fantastic. I've been seeing those little white balls ever since I was a kid, but no one's ever explained to me what they were. So we want to do a couple more exercises. We're going to do those tomorrow, and we'll bring them up in the interview. So yeah, the book is so much fun. We're really enjoying it. I'm going to come back to you in a second. Hercules approached Susan about doing a podcast on Theurgy and Thelema, and she wanted to bring me on board. And the thing is that we wanted to incorporate a couples format where possible, so we can discuss how a spiritual path can enrich a relationship that exists. So we will be starting with prominent Thelemites, but we'll doubtless veer from this. Brandy's already put a hand up. She's saying she wants to be on the show. But even though, Jean-Louis, you're not a Thelemite, we thought that you'd be perfect to interview because your aura book has so many couples exercises in it. So obviously you're doing a lot of spiritual work with your wife. And so we'd be looking at how that sort of work enriches your relationship and give other people ideas as to how they can enrich their relationships. I'm sure that Hercules won't mind us casting our net out a little wider to not just have Thelemites, but have other ceremonial magicians as well.
That'd be fine.
Okay, so long as we've got your permission, we're happy.
Thank you.
But the thing is, we went for the couples format because Susan's a Thelemite. I'm sort of I've got a large library of Crowley text. I'm a great admirer of Crowley, but I've never been initiated into a Thelemic order, whereas she has. She's in the Temple of Thelema. I'm sort of more into Theurgy, and we thought that between the two of us, we'd be able to come up with a quite a good podcast. And we thought that because we're coming on as a couple, it'd be good to have other couples coming up as well. So we thought that maybe we could have you, Hercules, and Athena come on one of the episodes, and we could talk about how your spiritual practices, preferably with a theurgic bent, are enriching your relationship. You know, that sort of stuff. I mean, it's all organic. We've got vague ideas floating, and it will crystallize into a final format. These are just the ideas that we're kind of throwing around at the moment, but we're really excited about it. To actually be contacted by Brandy, and Brandy's all enthused about it. She wants to come on and be the first person interviewed is very, very encouraging.
Athena is camera shy and podcast shy. So she does her thing. Like right now, she's building a labyrinth in our backyard. So
okay, well, what if we didn't show her image? What if we, for the Zoom thing, we just had a static pose of you and her together, nicely airbrushed, so you both look fantastic and like you've been pulled off the cover of GQ magazine.
There you go. I will ask her. If she agrees, I'd be very happy, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Thank you.
Fingers crossed. I think it'd be a fun episode.
And Tony, we
So
can
too.
do the same with my wife. Huh?
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what we wanted to do. And what got us thinking that way was we were looking at all the couples exercises in your aura book.
Sure.
So obviously you're doing at least that. I'm sure you're doing a hell of a lot more. So we'd want to explore how couples can work magic together and how it enriches their relationship. So that'd be the rough format of the podcast. And I think that a lot of other couples out there that for whom spirituality is important would find that sort of thing very helpful. It may give them ideas as to how they can enrich their own relationships.
Yeah, and if I may, we are working on translations of French books about energy work, healing energy work. They were mainly written in the 19th and 20th century. And a lot of exercises are very powerful when you do that in a couple.
Wow.
So yes, you can heal your wife. She can do the same on you. There are specific positions, specific paths. There is a lot to say about it, really, and fascinating. And there are a lot of connections with theurgy, obviously.
Okay, I would be very, very interested in that, and Susan would be interested in that as well, because the Thelemic group that she's in is a healing order. So to actually find out about other healing modalities, I think would be something that would be of interest to her. So I'd put my hand up for that book for sure.
Yeah, because almost everything we have in English speaking text are coming from Europe, end of 19th century. There are at least two or three groups practicing healing and energy work and so on, coming from the Pythagorean tradition, coming from Egypt and so on. And few of them were progressively translated, not as a book, but as booklets. and it started to spread in America and elsewhere. But the first books, even I found one about the breathing technique and healing energy, was written in the 18th century by a countess, a French countess, a small book. It was amazing. And they started from this kind of origin. This is strange, but when you see these texts in French, you say, okay, this is coming from, this is the origin, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah, this is strange. Interesting.
It's very interesting, and I'm seeing that the branches and the roots are starting to move, and that it seems that everybody's okay with us going in that direction.
Hercules like trees.
Yes, I do. I was on the environmental committee.
Anthony too, obviously.
Yeah.
He's recorded.
And Hercules, regarding going off in that direction, we don't have to go off in that direction forever. We can give it a go, see where it leads us. It may well take us down other tangents and tributaries that we hadn't even thought about, but we can always come back to the trunk of the tree if things don't work out. And we're going to learn so much in the process.
I think so as well. And I'm looking forward to these new adventures. Other than Jean-Louis, does anybody else want to talk about Theurgy's roots, topics that we haven't touched upon? Can anybody think of a branch unexplored? I'm personally going to Theurgy and cosmic spirituality, which is the UFO groups.
You are Theurgy drunk, Hercules.
Well, I'm in my 60s, I'm not going to be here forever. So it's like, what many things that I've enjoyed do I really want to devote my time to? Again, because I'm in my 60s, I'm contemplating, as Jean-Louis shared, death and non-existence and how fragile life is. So it's like, whatever I'm going to do, it'll be less things than I'm currently doing or that I've done, but I'm going to give it my all, because I consider these things of greatest value. And I consider Theurgy, among all the things that I've explored spiritually, be of the greatest value to me. And I found people who it's very important to as well. So let's do something. Let's enjoy it. Let's learn. Let's grow. And so that's why. Yes, I am Theurgy.
I want to say, in my own defense, I was talking to Tony about talking with my husband about what we did, and I said I didn't say I wanted to be first. I said, his condition changes.
Yes, you did.
So
you did say you wanted to be first, and I think that's great.
No, we got it. We got to get him on Zoom if you want. Soon. That he's got an end date. So, and it's a very interesting process to see someone moving through that process, right? So I thought that was a spiritual thing to talk about too.
My fellow Theurgists come first. So yes, Brandy, you will be first, whether you ask for it or not.
You are asking Hercules about new ideas. There is one I have always in mind. That is the upset Theurgist.
The upset Theurgist, what's that?
Yes, that means there are a lot of things that upset me. Everywhere related to magic, theurgy, and so on Facebook and everywhere. So few minutes about upset something is useful sometimes.
That'll be a change from what we normally do, but okay, fine. Dream about it, think about it, and
tell me that nobody is never upset about everything, about anything. No?
I get upset, but it's not worth it to get upset. It doesn't help at all.
I am not so sure. It reveals something from you.
Okay, that's true.
I stopped worrying about being upset when I heard the Dalai Lama one time say that, he gets annoyed and upset from time to time. I figured, well, if it's okay for him, I guess it's okay for me too.
That makes sense. Okay, we can do that.
While we're taking confessions, I get upset too, and I do whatever it takes to can I talk about cannabis gummies?
Yeah.
To calm myself down. They're legal in California, just a tiny amount to calm myself down, help myself ground. So yeah, confession time.
I meditate when I get upset. I wait until the end of the day. I let go of any tension from it and get myself blissed out in my mind, and that's pretty much it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is my Italian part that is easily upset sometimes.
So that's where it comes from. I have an Italian part as well.
Sure. Unfortunately.
And I have Michael Waterman, who Tony, I guess, knows best of all. He's a high priest of Kemet, Setna, Comwest. And so he's going to be the voice of Egypt, and he's going to talk about his type of theurgy on one of the roots of theurgy. And I'm interacting with someone now from Ishtar Fest, who will be possibly the voice of the ancient Near East, or the voice of Asia, as it would have been called, but Asia means something different now than it meant back then. And would anybody here, aside from Jean-Louis, like to represent the voice of the Las, or the voice of Rome, you know, to approach theurgy from that particular perspective?
Personally, what I love is research and talks about Mithraism. For a very long time, I love this tradition, the mysteries from Mithra. I don't know if we can say this is theurgic. In a way, maybe. We don't know. But I feel, I have no proof, I don't know, but I feel that there are connections between invocations, shamanism, because they use representations of animals sometimes. And you are talking about ancient Rome and Roman paganism, and we should speak about Mithraism at one point, because
that would be an awesome episode, Jean-Louis.
My mentor, in a way, is Julianus, the emperor, and he was the greatest one to talk about and to practice Mithraism. And this is maybe one of the first roots linking initiations, planets, and initiatory path, with these 7 levels, 7 degrees linked to the planets. And
planets, yes.
Anyone interested by Freemasonry, Mithraism is the origin. When you see a Mithraeum, this is exactly a Masonic lodge. This is not the Temple of Solomon. This is exactly a Mithraeum. And this connection is obvious on every level. So this connection is very interesting. This is a way to demonstrate that the roots of Freemasonry are pagan and not coming from the Bible, and coming from Mithraism instead. And this connection, this pagan connection, there are theurgic work. I am sure there is a theurgic work in the for the initiates, at least for the invocations, at least.
I
Well,
want to hear that.
The what used to be called the Mithras liturgy in the Greek magical papyri is certainly a theurgic ritual.
Yes.
I think most people think now it's not really Mithraic, but it was enough similar to Mithraism that it was, you know, commonly known as the Mithras liturgy. Still is very often. So yeah, I think there's definitely that connection to well, and Julian too. I mean, he was, of course, very closely connected with the Neoplatonic theurgic tradition as well.
He was initiated, yes.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in exploring this, and a part of the reason why I'm interested in the Masons, you know, aside from the fact that we coalesced in mutual activity, is that the Temple of Solomon, around which a lot of Masonic mythology revolves around, was a copy of the Temple of Hercules, or Melkart, in Tyre. And of course, Melkart, you know, being Hercules, according to Herodotus and very many other people, and throughout antiquity, Melkart was identified with Hercules throughout Europe and parts of Nicosia, or the ancient Near East. So there must be, because it's a copy of the temple, and Hiram, the king Hiram of Tyre, the kings of Tyre were either avatars or descendants of Hercules, because Melkart means king of the city. So the king of the city, which unfortunately many biblical people are associating with the devil, was actually Melkart. So I believe if that is true in their mythology, then there are things that survive from the temple, because the pillars are there. The pillars of Hercules we've all heard of in terms of Gibraltar, but they were much more than that. You know, there was a vast mythology attached to them as well. So for personal reasons, I'm in that direction. And I believe that the description of Dionysus's meeting with Hercules in Namis is actually a ritual of some sort, because he brings a gift, a vessel. So of course we know what the vessel is. And he ascends to where Hercules is and asks questions and is told stories and then partakes of nectar and ambrosia, if I remember correctly. So that sounds very much to me like a theurgic type of ascending, connecting, and anchoring, and allowing for the expression of.
The Mithras liturgy is actually the most complete ritual of ascension that we have. I've seen a number of academic texts that use aspects of the Mithras liturgy to flesh out other ascension rites. So for instance, when you look at late Jewish apocalyptic writings, there are rituals of ascension through heavens rather than the planets. And the Mithras liturgy has been used to flesh that out. I've also seen people referring the Mithras liturgy to the Chaldean oracles to flesh those out as well. Mithraism was an amazing religion. It was brought to Rome, I think, around 60 BCE by the Cilician pirates, and there were grottos established throughout the entire Roman Empire. A lot of Christians were built, a lot of Christian churches and monuments were built on top of the Mithraic grottos. But despite that, the Christians tried saying that that Mithraism was a counterfeit of Christianity. However, because the churches were built on top of the Mithraic grottos, it was obvious that they had to have been there first. So a lot of Christians then tried saying that the devil anticipated the coming of the one true faith and created Mithraism. It's an absolute joke. The other thing is that virtually all the books of Mithraism have been destroyed because so much has been taken from Mithraism and incorporated into Christian liturgy. And one example is that when the Catholic priest holds up a host and he says, "Behold, this is the body of God," and then he holds up a chalice and he says, "Behold, this is the blood of God," the same words in Latin are now in the Catholic Mass. So much has been taken from Mithraism, but it actually makes sense in a way because virtually every Roman soldier was a worshipper of Mithras. So rather than have them learn a new religion from the beginning, why not just take what they already know, tweak it a little bit, and turn it into the worship of Jesus rather than the worship of Mithras?
I tweak it not a little bit, a lot.
A lot, yes. High five.
Yes.
If we're riffing on the Mithras liturgy, I'll just mention that when I released For the Love of the Gods, to celebrate it, I did a public version of the Mithras liturgy. So we broke it out. We did it as a passion play. You could see a narrator voice, my daughter, and then the voice of the person who was listening. And then at a certain point, the sun showed up. We had, a person who came in a mask, and we charged scarabs, little scarabs, and handed them out to the people. So it's possible to do, and that on the theme of doing things physically and doing things as internal work, the Mithras liturgy can totally be run as an internal work, but we also were able to turn it into a ritual that people could do in person. So that would be an interesting topic. Actually, we've talked about it some, but it would be a very interesting topic, how we do ritual in person, how we do ritual as internal work, and Jean-Louis is building out ideas and teachings about how they interact. So I think that's a good topic.
I think it's a great topic, and we've come up with so many topics, it's going to be a challenge to schedule them. But how about we compile a list of all the things that we'd like to do in the next quarter, and then we'll plan those out, and then we'll just keep updating the list as we move forward in time. And it certainly is different, and it certainly expands our knowledge of theurgy as well as very many other spiritual avenues. And I think it'd be great. I'll also be talking at Witches Fest. I don't know what they accepted of mine, but I did both of them about Melkart. So it'll be something about Melkart. One of my talks that I outlined was how Melkart and the Theosophical Hercules are one and the same. Yeah, they're actually identical. So the Theosophical Hercules proves that at least the worship of Melkart, or the interaction with Melkart, if it didn't survive in actuality, went underground and then reemerged as the Theosophical Hercules. I don't remember what the other one was, but it was something about Melkart as well. Wow, I'm impressed. We have so much to talk about and so much to discuss. I believe that I know usually people have to go. It's 9:54, so we have 6 minutes. Do you like to spend them on sharing contact information or something else? Or I can go another 15 minutes if you need to, or 20 minutes.
I will have to leave at 7. 7 for me, sorry.
Okay. So let us start then with contact information. And we'll start again with Jean-Louis de Biasi.
First of all, I have to say that I found Sisters of Sechat, and it's amazing. You did a really great work, and the colors are, I love that. Really, the yellow is flashing. So I subscribed to the channel.
I'm very honored.
And I will listen to that tonight, yes. So the contact, my website, debiasi.org. You can find me also on Facebook. And from my website, you will find obviously the Theurgy website and the Oram Solis, and even the Kabbalistic Corner of the Rose Cross, which is really different.
And can you give it a few words how it's different? I know it's different. You explained it to me, but it was a good explanation. So can you share it?
Wow. Okay, in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
This tradition is coming from the southwest of France, from a Rose Cross tradition that was linked to a small group of people working on alchemy, healing, and plants, and so on, with mythology coming from the Rose Cross and medieval chivalry in the southwest of France. And the Amorques, you know, the Amorques, they were created after the Kabbalistic Order of the Rose Cross, because it was created in 1888. And the Amorques after, they were using almost the same mythology. So if you look at the roots, they can be linked to some pagan Gnostic groups. But at one point, they mixed in the history with the Jewish and Christian Kabbalah. So you have very interesting initiations linked to Christian and Jewish Kabbalah. But if you progress, you go closer and closer to the origin, and then to the pagan origin, like through Dante in Italy, through the medieval chivalry in south of France, things like that. Can we say that the organization is pagan? No, because it has been twisted and changed a little bit in the 19th century by the founders, but the heart itself is really pre-Christian. So people interested by real magic Kabbalah linked to Christian and Hebrew Kabbalah, this is the place to go. And if someone is interested by a real active Rose Cross, this is also the place to go, because the rituals have never been published, the initiations have never been published. They are very interesting experience. And we will have initiations in Dallas, Texas in July. So if you want to experiment, welcome. Send me a message.
Thank you so very much, Jean-Louis. Apollonius.
Thank you. Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is through my website, opsopaeus.com. That's opsopaeus.com, where there's information about my books and you know, any activities that are coming up. I should mention, by the way, in July, I'll be at Mystic South doing a presentation on ancient Greek divination,
Oh, wow.
dice divination, or alphabet oracle and dice divination. And I'm also on Facebook, John Opsopaeus on Facebook. And but you can email me through my website as well.
Thank you so very much. Brandy Williams.
BrandyWilliamsAuthor.com, Brandy Williams Author on Facebook, although I'm not on Facebook that much. I have a Patheos blog, Star and Snake. I'm going to be at Babylon Rising in person
Yay.
in June, so that's very exciting. I haven't gone anywhere since the pandemic, and I'm very excited to actually get out and see people again. I've been doing everything virtually. And my next show, Witchcraft and Theurgy, I'm actually finally getting to talk to Don Fruce. I'm very excited about that.
Oh, fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Tony Mierzwicki.
Easiest way to get in contact with me is either through my personal Facebook page or my author Facebook page. And like Brandy, I also have a Patheos blog called Holistic Spirituality.
And Tony always lets me know when he publishes something, and I share it as widely as I can. I will gladly share. It might take me a day sometimes, but I'll gladly share anything you send me and get it out as far and wide as I possibly can.
And Hercules, I really appreciate you sharing my stuff, getting the word out there.
My pleasure, Tony. And I'm doing something else too, but I forgot to send in the paperwork, so they'll probably keep it open for me, but they may not. I've been at Ishtar Fest since it began. I used to do things in person there, including a ritual to Melkart many years ago. But since then, I've been doing it virtually every year. They invited me this year, but I got caught up in other things and I haven't returned the paperwork. So it'll be something about Melkart. I don't know what, if they accept it. So thank you, everybody. I enjoyed our conversation. I got a phenomenal amount out of it, and I'm already looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.